On today's show, we discussed Donald Trump and Mo Brooks. If you have not heard about that, you'll definitely want to listen. And after that, we talked about what the Alabama legislature is not doing, which is sometimes a good thing, but probably not so much this time. Stick with us. You're going to love it. Welcome into Alabama Unfiltered. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Beeson. Allison Sinclair is with me. Amy Beth Shaver is also here as usual. Ladies, how are y'all?
We're good.
Great.
Man, it's going to be a fantastic show today. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like us, whatever you need to do, and tell your friends about this podcast. They can find it at all the regular locations where you find all of the award-winning, nationally known podcasts. That's where we are.
It's us.
So what's going on? There is big news out there. I mean,
it's not that we filled in for you today. That wasn't the big news.
Yes, the ladies did fill in on Scott Beeson Radio today, that you can find at scottbeesonradio.com. And it went well. I listened in. I was at the dentist enjoying a procedure, but I did listen. I thought y'all did great.
Thank you for letting us do it.
It was so much fun.
But you have to talk a lot, and we're very proud of you.
I think you still have
So
a job.
now you know why I talked. What was it you said? I talked too much during the podcast?
No, I just was really sympathizing.
You do not
and I
talk too
said,
much.
Now, I think I did say that. Now we know why Scott talks so much on the podcast, because when you're a one-man show, I mean, I guess maybe we could do it, but like if Amy Beth wasn't there, she was a rock star. I didn't know if I was supposed to push buttons or how to go to a break.
And 3 hours is a long time.
It is, but somehow we did it, and we had a lot of fun.
And she's an insider, so it's like,
oh yeah,
I don't know
she
what
was sounding like the expert sometimes.
She was the expert.
Really?
I know this.
I know she does. I mean,
and there might be some things I can't tell you.
It's true.
I was totally faking.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know anything.
Well, I think that's not true. I think we know that you know.
Yeah,
That watching you, watching us, watching you.
But that was the one thing I was like, because I'm an open book, but the things I know, I can't necessarily tell everybody. So I was really nervous that I was going to be like,
yeah.
So don't say it.
The earth is flat. Nobody knew.
There's a good argument for that.
Well, we do have a gubernatorial candidate that thinks the earth is flat.
We need to do that. We need to pursue that someday. Have you ever heard someone, like, if you've gone down that rabbit hole, if you go on the internet and start looking at I mean, I won't say it's a conspiracy theory, because I'm pretty sure it's probably not going to be proven true in the next 2 weeks, like things in American politics. But it is fascinating to learn some of those things.
Well, Dean Odle wrote like a 300-page book about it.
Really?
Our gubernatorial candidate, yes, about the earth being flat.
Why have we not talked to him yet?
We need to talk to him or read
because that's
the book.
clearly unfiltered, or Alabama Unfiltered.
We do. You know what? Everyone, we have a book club instantly on the spot. And that is the book that we're going to read first. Then we're going to read another book after that. I don't know the name. And if you read the book, you get a T-shirt. We don't have T-shirts, but we're going to make T-shirts.
We're working on
it.
Because no one's going to read the book.
Because no one's going to.
That's one of those promises.
We'll have a meetup at like a coffee shop, and we'll just make crap up, which is what our legislators do.
I was about to say, you sound like you're ready to run for office again, because you've got it.
There you go.
If you support me, you'll get a T-shirt and a book.
And maybe some candy.
So big news, Alabama.
Yeah,
President Trump's in the news. Congressman Mo Brooks, who's running for the United States Senate, is in the news. And so what was it? When did it come out this morning?
So it came out earlier this morning that President Trump pulled his endorsement of Mo Brooks. And I don't know.
Because Mo Brooks is a Russian spy?
Well,
because
that's it.
Mo Brooks
He's a spy.
There's got to be some really
personal.
good reason, right?
It does feel personal.
So what was the stated reason?
Well, the stated reason, quote, this is in Trump's statement, was that when I endorsed Mo Brooks, he took a 44-point lead and was unstoppable. He then hired a new campaign staff who brilliantly convinced him to stop talking about the 2020 election. He listened to them. Then, according to the polls, Mo's 44-point lead totally evaporated based on his 2020 statement made at our massive rally in Cullman, Alabama. You and I both were there. Were you there?
I was not there.
I was there. I wasn't as close as you were. I was like on the third row, but
she's on the special people row.
No. It's just because I was late as usual. But I was on the front row, and I remember watching Mo And I was probably 10 seats down from Mike Lindell, and then looking at Mike Lindell, and then looking at Mo like, oh. And I don't think Mo meant it. And I don't know, because
I think if you get the transcript and you read it, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
No, he pretty much said.
He said, move on.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing, I mean, he didn't say because there's nothing we can do about it. But I was telling people the whole time, there's nothing we can do about it. They're not going to. And I had friends, I had family members, I had supporters, and they give me a call. Scott, on September 28th, Donald Trump's going to be back in the White House. I'm like, I may have the date wrong, but they literally believe because there was this motion, this movement out there that they're going to change this thing, and Trump's going to be back in the White House, which I always said this is not going to happen.
Right.
Because it is corrupt, but it's just not going to happen. And I felt like Mo Brooks is up there knowing what the process is. He's a very, very smart guy. He's a very law and order guy. And he's basically saying, we got to win in 2022.
Right.
I don't think he meant 2020 wasn't stolen. I mean, he was being sued for saying 2020 was stolen.
Right.
He was one of the guys at the rally saying this was, we've got to save the day. He's one of the guys in Congress saying, let's look at what was done. And he got bashed for it and beat down, and he's a right-wing radical nut. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, he's on the wrong side. I'm just, I don't buy that statement. And I'm a little bit upset that over and over and over again with President Trump, I feel like I have to defend or can't buy his statement, or he's not telling me the whole truth. That does eventually wear on you.
It does.
I think it is the rally seems like, because I was not there, you guys were, that Mo was stating an uncomfortable truth. And when those are stated, people are not quite ready to hear.
That's a very good point.
Let's move on. And that's what grown-ups do.
Right. But it doesn't mean you're not going to try to find out what happened.
It doesn't mean that. But he understood that there's this whole thing called a constitution that he was using as his foundation and his reasoning behind this is what I'm not going to do. Right. But you can be for the Constitution and for an investigation. Right. I think so often in politics we pigeonhole people and say it's either this or that. Well, it can be both and. And we are so polarized in our thinking, we need to adjust our lens to stop and say, hang on, you can do both. But because Donald Trump doesn't do nuance, he's pretty much black or white.
That's true.
Yeah.
Then if you go against what he thinks, and he's the dude with the power right now, forget it.
That's a very good point.
Well, and I think Mo, what he didn't do the both and part.
Correct.
Because I really don't think he meant let's move on and not look back. What he didn't say was let's move on and still look back and investigate. But we still have 2022 that
and
we can't lose
people
focus.
booed him at that thing when he said that because they were really revved up. There was, I don't want to say who said it, but there was at least one, maybe two people who spoke beforehand who were literally like, we'll get Donald Trump in the White House. This was on a Saturday. Was it a Saturday night? By Wednesday. I'm misquoting.
That's dumb, but you can't do that.
That was impossible.
Right.
But it got the crowd revved up.
Right.
So anybody that follows after, and Congressman Brooks would be bad to say, he can't do that.
But don't you think if there's a way to finesse an answer?
There is.
That so Mo Brooks, his statement that he said after Trump put out his statement was, this is why Mo Brooks says that President Trump rescinded his endorsement.
Okay.
President Trump asked me to rescind the 2020 elections, immediately remove Joe Biden from the White House, immediately put President Trump back in the White House, and hold a new special election for the presidency. As a lawyer, I've repeatedly advised President Trump that January 6th was the final election contest verdict, and neither the U.S. Constitution nor the U.S. Code permit what President Trump asked, period. Okay, all that is true.
It is. It's factually true, correct.
But if you're Mo Brooks and you're smart, you can say all that and still say, however, when I get to the Senate, I will lobby to investigate what happened
That's
in
right.
2020. I will continue to fight for honest and free and fair
Right,
elections.
right.
And I will do everything I can. One senator cannot reinstate a president to back you up and support you in your efforts in figuring out what happened.
And maybe that happened privately. I don't know.
Well, wouldn't you think Mo Brooks would write that? I mean, if you're defending yourself,
If you're very dry, maybe not. I would have added in I really, really wish that could happen,
right.
Soften it some.
Right.
but I don't see how it does.
Right.
And maybe I would even put in, and even the quote unquote controversial statement that President Trump's upset about, guess what? I've been right. I was telling them the truth then. I'm telling them the truth now. I'm sorry, but the truth is the truth. And I think that would go a long way, or would have gone a long way.
What if this works in Mo Brooks' favor?
Well, the last endorsement that Donald Trump made in the state for a United States Senate seat, that guy lost.
I mean, I'm just saying, right?
Right.
I mean,
I mean,
what
is
if
that true?
Yeah, it's true.
At the height of his of his popularity,
He lost.
because he endorsed Luther Strange
Mm-hmm.
for the U.S. Senate, and then Roy Moore gets the nomination, and the Republican machinery cranks up, the swamp machinery cranks up, and Doug Jones does. Isn't that what y'all said
Yes.
on the radio?
You were
Oh, you
listening.
were
See?
listening.
We got Doug Jones.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
We did, absolutely.
Look at you.
And the Washington establishment was fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were.
So we got to see Joe Biden's Supreme Court nominee this week sit and do whatever she's doing up there
Right.
with good old Doug Jones sitting beside her. Did you see that?
I mean,
What?
Roll Tide, right?
I know.
I'm hoping he's an Auburn guy.
Probably
I
went
mean,
to
the
Tennessee.
bottom line is, and like you were talking about earlier today, is that the machine doesn't care who wins. They do not care who goes to Washington.
They care who
DC.
loses, though.
They
Because
do.
They have decided they don't want Mo Brooks in that spot. And I
Right.
think, and my opinion is, and I think I'm right, this is not just my opinion, Mo Brooks votes very conservatively.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I've always said about different people, whatever, I don't care if they're nice to me. I don't care if they say hello to me. I don't care if they come to my town's pancake breakfast. I don't care if they can claim they ever drove through my county. Just vote right and save the republic. That's all I care about.
Yes.
But a lot of Americans don't. They want to be stroked. They want to be, oh, he came by. Oh, he said this. I don't really want that.
That's
I
not
don't
Mo
care.
Brooks.
No, that is not Mo Brooks. And I don't know what the people of Alabama are going to do.
He's
but
a
it's-
surgeon.
He is.
He's a surgeon.
Is that how
He is.
surgeons are?
Surgeons have zero bedside manner.
Yeah,
Really?
that's exactly.
Okay.
Like they can be
They're
brilliant.
like,
And
yeah.
Mo Brooks is.
I'm going to take
He
out your liver.
graduated
You might
from
die.
Duke.
Hopefully you won't.
Well, I mean, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
Because that's the truth.
I just want to know you're
Like
good at
things
it.
can go wrong.
Well, right? Like, I don't need you to be my friend. I just, like you said. But
Yeah.
that's how I see it. I think he's the surgeon of the group.
Yeah.
And he's
Mm-hmm.
going to get it done. But in our world of Care Bear Share,
Right.
we want somebody to hold our hand and maybe take us to a picnic.
So here's a good
And be
question.
nice to us. Yes.
So Trump ends his statement by saying, I am hereby withdrawing my endorsement of Mo Brooks for the Senate. I don't think the great people of Alabama will disagree with me. Election fraud must be captured and stopped or we won't have a country. I will be making a new endorsement in the near future. Lots in that. But do you think the people of Alabama will disagree with President Trump with what he did today?
I think a lot of people are going to ask why.
Yeah.
And I think when they see that statement, a lot of people are going to go, huh? That's what you've got? That's why I asked, did they find out he was a Russian agent?
Right.
You've got to give me something more than at a rally. How many months ago was that?
That was in August.
And since August, multiple times he said, no, I'm sticking with Mo Brooks. So you got to give me something better. I think some Alabamians are going to look at that and go, what?
Do you think it discredits Trump?
Yes, a little bit. Because I think he had a huge base, and I think Alabamians get with their person and they stick with their person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think over the course of this, like I said a minute ago, I think this could work in Mo Brooks' favor, because then I think it makes people question Trump. And then it also then ushers in, because we were so for Trump, someone like a Ron DeSantis to come and fill in his place to say, see, his effect of endorsement on particular candidates has gone down. What did you say, about like 15%?
15%.
Really?
So that's gone down, and it doesn't mean as much as it did. And I think some people have Trump fatigue. We agreed with his policies. We appreciated that he was a bull for us, but we also kind of get exhausted by saying he didn't mean that. It's kind of like a 5-year-old sometimes.
Right.
Like, they didn't mean to punch you in the face. They're still learning,
Right.
but they won't do it again. And you're going around doing that all the time, and you're like, oh.
Well, okay. So the Trump loyalty test.
Right.
Remember, he was always attacked for you've got to be loyal to him, and the press was always bashing. So you can't kind of hear that. And when these kinds of things happen, is there another congressman who stood up for him more than Mo Brooks did? Now, Mo Brooks wasn't for him way back when he was for Ted Cruz and said, hey, look, you can't trust a word this guy says. He's not going to be genuine, which, let's be honest, most Americans thought
was me.
there's no way.
That was me.
I know. I think it was almost everybody who was shocked that Donald Trump actually did the things he said he would do.
Right.
But is Donald Trump loyal to the people who fall on the sword for him? Or if he decides he changes his mind, he just says, that's going to hurt my brand. This guy might lose. I'm not for him anymore. So are you only for the people you think is going to win? And then here's my second question, because I'll forget it. How good of a job did Donald Trump do when it came to surrounding himself with people who actually helped him move his agenda forward? There was that time when he didn't like the Freedom Caucus guys, remember? Mm-hmm. And he was all in with Paul Ryan. Really?
Yeah.
With Paul Ryan, the establishment, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce kind of folks, and he basically told us that the Freedom Caucus people were wrong and bad,
right?
Because they weren't willing to make some deal he wanted to make. So I'm looking back through all these months and years of me defending him and going, did I give him too much benefit of the doubt?
Those are good questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to the second question, he has to remember that as much as he would pull people in and push them back out again, turnabout's fair play. So if we choose to do the same thing, remember that's exactly what you did.
Right.
But that doesn't change. Here we go with the both and. You may be bombastic, but that doesn't change the good things that you did.
Absolutely.
So if he chooses to run again, then the biggest question is going to be, can he bring Kellyanne back? Because she seemed to be the only person to say, what are you doing?
Right.
And also make sure that he understands that the people he surrounds himself with, much like Biden, can be a dumpster fire or it can be rainbow and sunshine. It literally depends on who you're listening to, which happens to be a biblical principle, and who you're walking with.
Right. Who your advisors are.
This is going to be so interesting. I mean, it's really a weird, bizarre, I would say nationwide attention race. And 1819 came out with their own poll that has Mike Duran at 29%, Katie Britt at 27%, Mo Brooks at 23%, 16% undecided. I would think that is probably, I think these people were taking Trump polls that showed Mo probably a lot lower than he was. I mean, Trump is not going to stick with a loser. His ego is way too big.
Now, I would.
Right, but that's like
saying,
Trump. Yeah.
I mean, you're
Well, that's why
Trump.
I'm asking the loyalty question.
Yeah,
if you and I are on the same page and you go to bat for me and we go to war and then it's my turn to support you in your war, I'm with you.
Right.
And we may go down in flames, and I've done it numerous times.
Yes.
But so it that bothers me.
But in Trump's defense, he feels like from this that Mo is not being loyal to him.
Back in August.
And, in his answer today, I mean,
Right.
I'm just saying, if you put yourself in Trump's shoes, obviously he's not getting what he wants from Mo. And it really is turning into this. I can't say that word.
It's match.
Yes. It's a
little bit of that.
It's a contest.
Well, I mean,
right
maybe. Now. So in your mind, and everybody has their reasons. I don't have anything against Durant. I don't know him. I don't have anything against Britt. I don't know her. Who is the most conservative of the three that we know will be conservative? Because everybody's ad's conservative. Everybody's God and country. I'm a Christian. I'm for Trump. I'm for the Constitution. I hate Al-Qaeda. I'm against ISIS. I don't like. They're all the same. But who is proven to be the most conservative?
Well, that's Mo Brooks.
Okay, so the the former president of the United States is trying to get the people in the reddest state in the country to not elect the most conservative person.
Yes.
because he's mad about something
Yeah.
or that hurts his brand.
Well,
I mean, if you're
but
going to
there's-
save the republic, you got to send the people who will save the republic.
There's also the whole storyline of that, Washington, there are a lot of people in Washington that don't like Mo Brooks because he doesn't play well with others. You know,
Right.
and you know this from being a legislator. You can go in and be an AOC or Marjorie Taylor Greene, on either side,
Right.
and you can get lots of commotion going and lots of
Right.
press. But at some point, you don't negotiate on the essential things, the solid conservative kind of orthodoxy things. I don't know if I should say.
You mean all the things we just throw out the trash with our Republicans?
Yes, those
Okay.
things. Like you still got to be able to carry a shotgun in your campaign ad and
Right.
do all those things that you're supposed to do. But you do have to be able to interact and negotiate and have conversations and so there's something to that. And I think Mo Brooks has a hard
Right.
time doing that.
Because
But
I've heard
then
that argument a lot.
My question is, and I said this morning, like, do we really want somebody that's going to compromise? Because the conservatives usually lose. So I'm not sure that's bad, but
I asked people who came in my office one time when I was still in the legislature. They had that same kind of argument. And I said, okay, so what is it exactly you want us to work on together?
yeah, can we hold hands?
And they're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, we can't just always say, I want them to be able to get along. No, I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. Actually, I'd be fine if they would just stop doing things. Just give us a break for a while. Quit trying to fix everything.
But here's
So I'm
my
not really
question
sure.
to you.
Mhm.
How, like, when you really think about it, I mean, Mo Brooks, Mike Durant, we've talked about this on this podcast, and Katie Britt could not be three more different candidates in
Correct.
personality,
Yeah,
in
personality
background,
seems to be different.
and
Right.
supporters. Really, they're very distinct, and I think this polling shows it. But when they get to Washington, do you really think their votes are going to differ that much?
Yes. On the
Really?
when it really, 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 really matters. When it's the Washington is on fire and you got to save the country. And people are saying, if you don't vote this way, you're a racist, horrible Russian agent. One of those three will go, I don't care what you think. I'm going to tell you the truth and I'm going to do it right. Because he's already done it.
Right.
Now, one of the three, I don't think so, because I think they were trained under someone who doesn't do that. And then the Durant one, so I guess I'm going to name everybody, is really kind of up in the air.
Right.
But he's had his fire moment, which was, you're a government contractor. You will vaccinate your employees. And did he fight the fight? Or did he say, well, nothing I can do, I'm a government contractor? So, I mean, I do think there's a difference. 90% of the time, the votes will be the same. But when the real cutting time comes, not everybody's up for it.
Like when Tuberville votes to draft our daughters, but Mo Brooks doesn't. Yeah.
Well, look, there's no doubt in my mind Mo Brooks knew that he would get attacked for not funding the military.
Right. And that's exactly
So
what
he did
happened.
the right vote.
Yeah.
All the Republicans voted that way. But he said, I'm not doing something that's going to draft our daughters.
Right.
And it had the red flag laws in it too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, and people forget that. Because if I was on the other side, I would be saying, then y'all are for that? I would have somebody asking, so y'all thought
Right.
that was the wrong vote?
Right.
Y'all thought girls should be in combat? Y'all thought the red flag laws on veterans should apply? That's what you're telling me?
Right.
And they would have to say, oh, I didn't say that. I didn't say, that's some pack I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You mean the one being supported by people out of Washington, D.C. who have somebody they don't want in office? It is tough. And the reason I say it that way is because I've been pushed into those corners.
Right.
Where they're like, I dare you to vote against this. I mean, I had to vote against a bill that was supposed to put the Bible in our schools. And I had to lead the fight to kill that because it was exactly the opposite.
Mm.
It was the liberalized version.
Oh, wow.
Did God really say all this kind of stuff?
Oh, my goodness.
And it was years and years ago, and it was it was being done on purpose. And I could barely get any allies because no one wanted to be the person who voted against having the Bible
Because
in
the
school.
headline reads,
Yes.
Scott Beeson, Senator,
Doesn't read the
outlaws
Bible anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Kills the bill that would allow your kids to read the Bible in school.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, when did these cats ever decide they wanted our kids to read the Bible in school? They haven't done it in the last 30, 40 years, and you're shocked that they're now coming up with it?
That's the point that you were talking about this morning, that we have got to search for truth, that we can't, if you put your hope in Trump, you're really going to be let down. If you put your hope in Mo Brooks, you're going to be let down. Like, we cannot depend on these politicians to save us, and it's a search for truth.
It is a search for truth. And I also think, how many times, first of all, it's a search for truth, and it is a reminder that we have to read. We cannot take what we see at face value, even if it's written by somebody we like.
Yes.
But also, have you not gotten into almost fisticuffs with people over their candidate? I mean, I remember a couple years ago when someone else was running, Roy Moore was running, and people who were for them or for him were like almost violently for him. And if you brought up another opinion that, well, maybe we're not going to consider him,
Right.
they nearly flew into a rage. And I'm like, all right.
Well, just like some of the people who were against him would fly into a rage. Yes.
You cannot do that. They are human beings.
That's right.
And we are electing them to go down and represent us. Because at the end of the day, you said something really good. We're all going to have to be on the same team. Right. We're all going to have our voices heard by the person we choose to send. And right now, we're not together, but we will be. And we can't get in fistfights with people because we're so tied to our idea and our thinking that we're willing to not even or unwilling to listen to another side or another opinion. And then we're going to we're going to end up being like the people that we're not for, who won't listen, who blame, shame, blame, shift, all the stuff.
Well, I'll ask y'all. So, like, really, who is responsible? So the ads that are run by these out-of-state PACs, and Mo Brooks happens to be the person they're attacking, and they say he didn't support the military. As you brought up, that was the bill that was going to make our daughters draftable.
Right.
Yep.
And so whose fault is it that we don't know that bill was the one that makes our daughters draftable? It's not really the people buying that ad's job to tell us the whole truth. We're the ones who are supposed to go, and we all say it, don't we? Like, oh, I'm gonna research the candidates, and I'm gonna get what Google told me.
Yeah,
well,
good luck with that.
That's just great because
do the opposite of what Google tells you.
Right. So it's kind of our fault that we're not really checking to see who these people are. And I'll tell you, when you were talking about the candidates, I remember one time I was in a discussion with a legislator who told me, look, I always do what the people who got me elected wanted. And I was like, well, yeah, we all do. Then I realized what they had told me. They told me the truth. The people who elected them, they didn't see the voters as the people who elected them.
The lobbyists.
They saw the lobbyists and the special interest groups. And I had heard that over and over and over. I always represent the people who got me elected, or I represent the people who elected me. I represent the people who elected me. I will always stand for those who elected me. It wasn't the people. It wasn't the voters. And they were telling the truth.
Yeah.
This group gave me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. That's why I'm here. And so that's what we're looking at in all these races.
Yes, we are.
And it is so important now when we see money from other places. And I'm really, if you're for somebody that I'm not for the United States Senate, I get it. I'm not mad at anybody for it. But we really need to think about what we're getting, because we only get this shot once every 6 years. And we did the Doug Jones thing.
Yeah, it didn't turn out well.
No.
And if you remember, Doug Jones was kind of Richard Shelby's fault.
Kind of would be wrong.
I'm pretty sure. And I think Katie Britt was in his office. I mean, she was his chief of staff.
Right.
She's not, I don't think Richard Shelby takes orders from Katie Britt, but I'm just saying it was, and Shelby is a huge backer of Katie Britt.
Well, she could have stormed out and protested.
She could have.
She could be a fighter.
But here again, it's important, who are we with and who are we listening to? And that matters in this race, is look into who they've worked for, who they've worked with, who they've represented, who they've lobbied for.
Who wants them elected.
Who wants them there.
Right.
And who are they going to listen to? Because it's very hard to turn away when someone has written you a very large check and they call you to say, I really don't want to do that.
Right.
Which
what
is
are you going to do?
actually a great lead into our next, what I really want to talk about. It's kind of lobbyist-ish.
Okay.
Ism, something. With, kind of a legislative update. And one of the things to talk about is what's going on in our education system, school choice, things like that. I have an article. It's on my phone on the floor, which I'm going to grab.
It's good. I'm going to grab my
Just
podcast.
get it.
I mean, a little text that I got from somebody that has
But-
a great quote.
Okay. So it's talking about, and you would have
Are
some
women always on the phone?
Yes.
I mean, we're doing a podcast and y'all are looking at your
No,
phone.
no.
No,
We've got
we're
like
saving our
articles.
kids.
That's where we save it. And also, yeah, because our kids
I
may need to
put
text
mine down
us.
right before I chastise
Okay,
y'all.
this has to
That's
do.
a dad thing.
This is with AEA.
You're like, they're good.
This is AEA donations. This is what I have, and I have it on my phone. Okay.
Okay.
So let's talk about the AEA and
Alabama Education Association.
Thank
My
you.
favorite.
Forgot about that. Okay. They are the lobbyists for Alabama education. Okay. There was a resolution that was passed by the Alabama Republican Party that didn't prohibit accepting donations from the AEA, but strongly suggested against it and warned. And I don't know
And that was
when-
passed years ago.
That was passed years ago.
Okay.
Because the theory and the going conversation is that back then they used to be very leftist leaning. They were Democrats and they were infiltrating the school system and buying off legislators. The argument now, because I have a list of all the legislators and how much money they've taken from the AEA.
Oh, sister.
Sister has it. That's why I had to reach down
Just
on my
give
phone.
us some amounts.
Okay. But here's what's happening. Now all of a sudden they're saying that, the AEA isn't what it used to be, so Republicans can take money, even though that resolution's still out there. And actually,
Right.
John Wall, the chairman, talked about it. And everybody, it's kind of like gambling in Alabama. It's happening and everybody knows it, but nobody wants to either enforce it or, I guess, just legalize the whole thing.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this just like the liberals changing their language because it doesn't fit what they're doing? So let's just change it. Like what's not okay is suddenly okay.
Well, when you hear the amounts of money that are going into some of these campaigns, you're going to see why. Number one, State Rep Tim Wadsworth, Republican.
Okay.
$117,000, $625. Sorry.
Wow.
That could
$100 and
buy-
something $1,000 for a House seat?
Oh my.
Senator Chris Elliott, $85,000. Senator Garland Gudger, $65,000. Dickie Drake, $57,500.
Is that the total they've ever received, or is that one-time contribution for this election? Do you know?
This says I searched the public database, added up the AEA contributions to each lawmaker, and here's what I found.
Oh, I bet that's the total
That's
over
the
years,
total.
because that's a lot.
Tommy Haynes, $40,000. Greg Albritton, $30,000. Ed Oliver, $29,000. All right, let's just go on down. There's a few like Will Dismukes, $25,000. Paul Lee, $26,000.
You know what I think some of the
Jabba Wagner.
legislators are saying?
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Will Ainsworth, our lieutenant governor, $50,000. And there's probably 80 legislators, maybe less, on here. And some of the names will surprise you. So, what was the AEA's reputation when you were there?
When I was still there, I was one of the people saying Republicans shouldn't be taking money from the AEA because it makes it very, very difficult for us to try to pass conservative education reform. That's just the fact. And what I think
Ding
they're saying
dong.
now is, don't worry about the AEA because they're no longer how many 100 pounds? 900-pound gorilla in Montgomery. Because they used to run everything, and they would weigh in on economic development projects, all kind of legislation that had nothing to do with education. They would weigh in, and people would vote with them. But they're not that anymore. So I think what some people are trying to say is, they're not that powerful anymore. Well, that's how you become powerful. You start doing those things all the time. There's 2 or 3 groups that I wish Republicans would quit taking money from because they do their bidding constantly, and it's because of that.
And this has to do with our child's education. This isn't like who gets a bid for road work or the forestry, whatever, which is all important. But I'm saying when these senators and representatives are taking money from the AEA and they want to keep masks on your kids, but there's legislation to take masks off your kids, but they've taken $117,000. Who are you beholden to? I don't think it's the kids in schools and masks.
Well, that's the other thing you do is you look at the money that was given, and then you say, hey, here's a very conservative issue. Oh, you voted with a special interest group. On this was easy. This was not hard. This is just, school choice. This is just let my kid go to, the place I want them to go. And the mask is another good one. Why would you be for masking my kid? Oh, you voted with where you got all that money.
Well, and the converse is true, that the AEA is not going to spend money on somebody that won't negotiate and do their bidding.
That's why people get involved in politics. The people who understand politics get involved in politics because they want something or they have a worldview that they want to move forward. Very few people have ever given to me when I ran and said, hey, look, I totally believe in what you're doing. Your values are right. Go do it.
Right.
I hate
There's
politics.
just not a lot of that. Now, I used to get a lot of, because another thing they'll do is they'll give money to people they think is going to win. Or as it looks like you're going to win, they'll jump on, or they'll do makeup money after you've won. And then I would get I don't know why I ever give you money. You never vote with us. I'm like, I vote with you every time you're right.
That's a good answer.
And they're
their
like,
feelings.
not very happy about it.
Wow.
But a lot of the problems we have are our faults.
Absolutely.
Because we don't keep up. We don't really know. The television ad is what we care about. And we've all done it. I mean, I've voted for people because I'm like, I don't know either one of them, but I liked her ad. We've done that. So it really is. We've got to become more knowledgeable. And that's what things like this show are about, I hope.
Yeah.
At least make people ask questions and start talking about it. So in Montgomery, we've talked about some different issues. This show focuses mostly on Alabama issues. Is the legislature making any moves when it comes to actually fixing education or turning back some of the corrupt gambling bills or anything?
It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't. It seems like the soup is getting thicker, filled with ingredients that were we to take a bite, we'd be sickened immediately. They're not, we had the Parents' Choice Act and money got involved with that. And so there goes Parents' Choice, because what parent, and we've both homeschooled our kids, you've homeschooled one of yours.
At least 1 year, right.
At least 1 year. So if you've done that, you know that the type of education your child receives is a good one, because you know exactly what they're learning. There's no subterfuge. There's no, what do you want to know that for?
Right.
You know, because you are looking at what they're doing.
And you're making sure they do it.
And you're making sure that they do it, or you have like we've done an online academy, and I was in touch with their teachers frequently, so I knew exactly what was going, like the old days. Yeah. But then you have this idea that parents, and this is why it died, and I don't know that it will come back. You had this idea that they attached testing for the kids who were at home, and it is a big deal. I know right now kids who are homeschooled who play for their local community, which is fantastic.
Right. I want them to be able to do that.
But they still have to take access classes. And if they want to come from homeschool combined with access classes and play their sport, then they have to take tests to certify that what they studied was, where the school is, whether it's, geometry, physics, whatever it is. So that kid is not only doing all the work, but then they have to go in and certify that they were doing the work if they want to come to that school.
And your homeschool curriculum may not line up perfectly with,
that's right,
with the test that the public school says, okay, in 9th grade, you have to have done, I'm going to get this wrong, but geometry.
Right.
Homeschool might have said, well, I'm not doing geometry this year. I'm doing algebra.
That's right.
So you're opposite. So the public school system said, well, we'll give everybody this test to make sure you can play sports. Right. Now, they're not going to do that.
Right. No.
For the one person who says I'm homeschooling and doesn't really do anything, there's always these magical situations. We have to make sure. I'm doing my Joe Biden impression.
It's a good one. It's very good.
We have to make sure that terrible homeschooler is actually educating that child.
I had this conversation with somebody when one of our kids was in middle school.
Okay.
And literally, they couldn't believe all that we were doing. So they brought me to the principal's office. It was for a good reason. And they were like, wait, are you telling me this is what you do? I'm like, yeah. Like, what did you think we were going to do? Like, watch TV? Eat bonbons? I don't know.
Oh, they do tell people
They
that.
thought that that's what we were doing. And they were like, oh, I wish all the parents were as serious as you were about homeschooling. And I'm like, really? Because we all are. Like, I don't know any homeschool parent. Only the parents whose children were truant and they don't want the children or parents to go to juvie or to jail, which are about 3 people per district.
Right.
Take homeschool very seriously. We're home
and the chances
because we want them to get a good education.
If that kid was still in public school, they still wouldn't be learning anything because no one cared.
Well, like Will used to say, we are only learning to pass a test. So my question is, okay, guys, let's, with all this like testing and whatever, don't they take the same ACT? Don't they take the same SAT? Don't they take the same PACT, PSAT? Yes. So if you want to see a test that everybody takes, show that test.
That's when everybody comes together.
That's it. It's not that hard.
Now, y'all may disagree. I would have been fine with saying every so many years you have to take the National Education Aptitude Battery, whatever that national
we used to have
test
to take
is.
It. Yeah.
Right. If the homeschool kid took that every so many years and you just bombed, we would know that you're not doing anything.
Right.
But you and I both know that the hoops are put there, the hurdles are put there to keep children from being able to play sports because so many kids want to play sports. And the goal is to pressure you back into the public school system and give you no choice. That's exactly what they're doing.
Over everything.
So how do conservatives, quote unquote conservative legislators, convince themselves in their minds that they're doing the right thing by not giving parents any choices? Well, philosophically.
That's a great
I
question.
need the devil's advocate here.
I got nothing.
Well, the devil's advocate is that, school choice isn't as black and white as it seems. There are some issues. When you live in a district like, say, Mountain Brook, and you pay Mountain Brook taxes, and you have invested in that community for years and years and years and sacrificed maybe to have your kids there. But now all of a sudden some, hypothetically, some random from some failing school, 40 miles away could come. They haven't been paying into the community. They come and take advantage and leave.
I didn't know that was in any of the school choice bills, though. That sounds like another one of those. And I'm sure somebody said that to you, but I never knew that we never had a school choice plan that said I could go and take my kid to a different district and force my kid into that public school. So,
well, that's what it is.
I mean,
you can go to private schools,
right? But I'm saying if that school has openings,
well, you're saying they could take that student if they wanted to,
right?
But they wouldn't have to.
No, right, right. No, they could, and so then the people that have been investing in that community for so long, they're kind of like, wait a second, and so it. And I know school board members in the Birmingham area that are against school choice for this very reason, because of kids outside of their district that aren't part of the community coming in.
Well, they'll take them if they're really fast or good at.
I mean, that's true.
We know that's true. I think the deal is schools do not have enough competition. And I think that if you are producing a product that you're proud of, then you want people to come. And you want to fight to have a waiting list if your school is that good.
Right. If your school says, I'll take 50 kids that aren't from the district.
That it feels weird to have people come in because we've never done it. But if you look at places like DC that did have opportunities to go to charter schools or opportunities to take their money and go to public schools, there was a lottery, but there were parents, I think they would sleep overnight. I remember reading about this a couple of years ago to get their kids to a great school.
Right.
Guess what? Then go ahead and open another school.
Right.
But I think the one thing I've noticed in all of this and in the struggles we've been in with our youngest is there is not enough competition. If you give competition, an excellent education, and give parents freedom for their children, oh my gosh, Katie bar the doors. You can't even imagine what might happen. But we're locked into one way right now. And here again, I mentioned at the beginning, we need to adjust the lens. We do not have to be at odds, because what the system is set up is now, like with the conservatives that are in the legislature, is they've put us at odds with one another. Things are never good when you're put at odds with one another. We are for our children. We are for our communities. We are for good education. How can we best do that?
Can we ever say yes? Because we're almost last in the country in
Right.
education. I mean, where's the big reform? And it can't be that we pass some multi-million-dollar bill that says we're now going to focus on teaching kids to read. No, it's math this time. Reading was last time.
Yeah.
We're going to teach math by the time they get in the third grade.
We're gonna
And I'm like, wait a
spend
minute, what
92
did school used to be?
whatever bazillion dollars to hire more math coaches to go in and teach more bad math. And that's what I was going to say is that, I mean, the school choice is a great first step. And we talked about it this morning, but there's still so many other issues. Common Core,
It's
gotta
awful.
go.
Yes.
Teacher tenure, gotta go. Local control. We need to bring back local control
Amen.
to school boards. Like dismantle, get rid of the Alabama Board of Education. I don't care.
Right.
I mean,
Can it be worse? I'm serious.
Could it be worse?
How do you come in? You can't come in laster than last. Can you?
you can be laster
Further than last?
That's
Lastericious?
really
We're more last.
laster
Yeah.
than last. I like that.
Yeah.
Why can't we
That's-
make it
that's
more
new.
gooder
That's very
instead of more badder?
good Alabama English, apparently.
You went to school here, didn't you,
Right.
Scott?
Well, they didn't have the
So
reading
it
initiative.
really
But-
is lipstick on a pig. Like we're gonna, and it's such the Alabama legislature thing. Like we're gonna do this great. Look at us. We're
Right.
gonna do this shiny thing and give you school choice, and you'll go from 52nd to 51st.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're over here and they've set the house on fire.
Yeah.
You know, don't look over here.
Don't
Look over
look.
here.
Okay, so the last question is, I think we could have reform in education if everyone wasn't convinced that their school's good.
Oh yeah, that is like that's like pulling teeth. No pun intended.
No, everybody thinks all the other schools are bad.
Yeah, they think their school is
Their
great.
school is always good.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's one of our big problems is that everybody believes their school is good. And let me see. Did y'all want to be censored? Because I'll tell you a story that might get us kicked off.
yes.
You sure? Okay.
Please.
Wait.
So I was at a.
Are you
I
using
gave
names?
No.
Okay.
It's a true story. Okay?
Okay.
I used to be even worse, maybe at hacking people off than I
Worser?
am now. Worser. I was more badder. And I was talking about this very issue, and I was pushing for education reform. And I said, look, here is the problem in Alabama schools, and it really is. It's a racist thing, actually. So people can go, oh yeah, see, I knew you are racist. That's fine. Not me thinking it, but this is what people do. They say, okay, my school doesn't score very well on the, I'm not saying Gardendale, I'm talking anybody in Alabama says, my school doesn't score very well compared to other places around the country, et cetera, or compared to other systems or schools across the state. But that's probably because of those black kids.
People say that?
No, that's what people think in their head. When their school doesn't do very well, it must be, well, we have a bunch of black kids. And then other schools say, well, no, it's because we have these Hispanic kids. And then the next school down the street says, well, it's really because we have all those poor kids.
Oh, that's so horrible.
So everybody believes that their school is not doing as well as it should, but it's because of some outside entity. Or it's this one. I know you've heard this one. Well, it's because we have so many kids, their parents don't care. So we
it's always
all
somebody
give
else's fault.
we give ourselves these excuses, and then we don't compare. So I was giving this speech. I said, well, let me go ahead and tell you how we compare, how white students in Alabama compare to white students in other places. And people are like,
yeah.
and then I said, and here's the one that's going to rock some of your words. In all actuality, during this year, African American students in Alabama were outperforming African American students in those states that I had used the comparison. I said, so when we try to use an excuse, that is not the truth.
Right.
And was I welcomed for telling the truth?
No.
Like you were talking about earlier in the show? No.
How about we just have a corrupt, bad setup?
We do.
That
I
needs to
think
be
it is
blown up.
built to fail.
Right. And destroyed and rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
And because we are throwing more money at education, more teachers, more time and energy, and we are just sinking. Like you can't keep doing what you're doing.
And the fix can't always be another 60, 70, 80, 90 million dollar
Right.
project. Another do-over.
Right.
It's just
Well, there are schools that are working, and there are systems that work, and there are charter schools that work really well. It's across the board. You just have to go look at. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Look at classical schools.
Mm-hmm.
They're performing exceptionally well because the thing that they do that I respect and admire is that they expect everyone to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
I found out in Asian countries, for example, I looked into South Korea, there are no AP classes, there are no honors classes, there's nothing advanced. Every single student is expected to achieve. If we had that simple mindset
Right.
and cut out all of the excuses, we might have something.
Well, there was a book that was put out a few years ago. I think it was called No Excuses. And it was case studies of all these very successful schools. And some of those schools were public schools in very bad parts of town where they went in and said, we're going to focus on education. We're going to have discipline. They would require things like kids to help clean up the schools. They really changed the character of how it went and were vastly successful. But instead of taking that model and moving it other places, the next place would say, well, I don't want to have to do all that. You can't get on to little Johnny, and you can't. So they had no discipline. Then nobody wanted, take care of the school. You had teachers that were pushing back because they didn't want to do this. They didn't want to come and do extra tutoring and all that kind of stuff. So it can be done. And I think most of us are just begging to, let's focus on real education.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can just do that, we would be successful, but we do everything else.
And how about let's tune into the teachers who are doing really well and the superintendents and the principals who are having good results. And let's put them on a panel with parents who are involved and invested in the community and combine so we stop this garbage head-to-head having a fight every day, over education. Like, let's tap into their creativity and their knowledge, because I know plenty of people, we do, that are phenomenal at their job.
Yes.
Why are we not listening to them?
Because if you say they're phenomenal, that means the other person that you compared them to is not phenomenal.
Imagine being good.
Not
Imagine having,
phenomenalism.
imagine not having that just old archaic mindset that we all are the same. We're not all the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's not why we were created. We're not the same. We're different, to use our gifts and talents in our community, whatever that looks like, for God's glory. And we're different. We're hands, we're feet, we're heads, we can run, whatever it is. We're different. And our system isn't set up to work with differences. They're set to work with same, and same never goes well.
Well,
I agree.
I will say, Representative Meadows, I heard that I think the Parents' Choice Act, because it kind of went away. It was all the talk. And then it kind of went away. I think it'll be in committee next Wednesday.
Okay.
And I think Charlotte Meadows has a substitute bill that she's going to bring. We'll see what happens. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. But it all goes back to the AEA money that I was thinking, because that's how the testing got in there, because the AEA. And it's just so gross, really. Like, let's just do the right thing.
Right.
Let's just do what's best for our kids.
Right. Imagine
and
that.
Alabama.
But that would be thinking that education is about educating children.
No, you're right.
Education is a jobs program at every level.
Really bothers
even
me
in
when
the
they
state,
say that.
even in
It's
all
not
across the
to
West.
create, when you read some of the bylines on schools around the state or even around the country, and they talk about, getting them ready to work. No, we want schools in our communities to teach our kids how to think.
Yes.
And once they know how to think, they'll know what they want to do, and they'll go do it.
Well, once they're taught the basics and how to think, they can do whatever job.
Which is
Why am I training them for
that's
just
exactly
this
right.
job? Because I haven't figured out what I want to do when I grow up.
Me neither. It's fine.
Are y'all ready for this transition?
Yes.
Well, if our schools continue to fail, it looks like those kids will always have the lottery and gambling in Alabama.
Yeehaw, Ethel, let's go.
Well, you got to have those
good.
kids who will think, I'm going to win this time.
I'm going to win.
yeah.
So gambling is not dead, but it might be a little more complicated. I think it's in conference committee.
Ugh.
Excellent.
That means it's close, though.
Do you want to tell everybody? Probably most people don't know what
Right.
conference.
So conference committee means it is a version of it is passed the House, a version of it is passed the Senate. Those two versions don't match, so they have to talk about it. So you're talking about conference committee?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I might have just lied
Okay.
unpurposefully. Is there?
Right.
there's a soul. I'll figure this out. It's
Okay.
very confusing, and I think it's purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
I think Montgomery makes it confusing. There's a lottery only bill that's in the House,
Okay.
and then the full casino lottery gambling bill came out of the Senate.
Okay.
And I think they're like, let's talk about these two and see if we can work it out.
Reconciliation.
Oh, so they've sent it to that. There's a special committee that's just talking about can they get the sides all together.
Look, I don't know. People are talking.
Right.
They're trying to work it out because we're running out of time. I mean, really, after they come back from spring break, we have 7 legislative days. So they'll do 3 next week, 3 the next week, and then 1 the next week, and we are done. I don't know if they can pull it off. But I think the message is gambling is not going away, and I really wish it would. It's so annoying.
It's apparently very, very, very important.
But
It is important to somebody.
It is.
It's important to the gambling lobbyists and the AEA. I don't know why I did that, and the special interest groups. And so I don't know. We'll see. I just keep going back to like, just give it. If we're going to do this, which we should not, at least give the people a decent bill, a decent setup.
Just let everybody do it. Why can't we talked about this on the program a couple weeks ago. Why can't we just do away with the prohibition? I think it's a horrible idea. I think the prohibition was put in there for good reason because somebody learned their lesson and said, we're going to prohibit this in the future. But just let everybody do it.
Wouldn't that be easy? Just remove it from the Constitution and then just let the free market hash it out?
Just let it be. And then all they have to do, their only job is you just pay your income tax.
Yeah. Why do all these
pay a
people
special
have to be
tax.
up in it?
I don't even know.
Because it's about making people super, super wealthy. That's what
And
it's
only
all,
a
that's what-
few.
Only a few. Only the ones that are chosen. The ones who are paying for lobbyists and stuff like that now. That's what Alabamians ought to be asking for. If y'all are going to do it and you think it's good, let us all do it.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that with marijuana.
No, they did not.
That was such a great transition. Because did you listen this morning? You are. 3 hours.
You are.
You learned some things.
We did. Wow.
Did you hear us with Christine Carr?
I did not.
Okay. So Christine Carr is a friend of ours, but she's also kind of jumped on this whole medical marijuana bill that passed last year. It's a disaster of a bill. Again, if you want to be for medical marijuana, lots of people have lots of reasons. I mean, do it right. There's a way to do it. This is pretty much recreational. I mean, you can go gamble with your gummies and it's like we're setting ourselves up to be a disaster of a state.
Absolutely.
So one of the things, and this is so common sense, the update on the marijuana bill is that as of right now, if you are pregnant, you can still be prescribed THC and marijuana.
Is that a good idea? That's not a good idea, is it?
It's a terrible
That's
idea.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. I've never been pregnant. I mean,
Do you think it's good for
I'm
your
still working on
fetus
becoming
to
a
be
woman.
high?
I need to, after.
Are you a wolf?
I don't even know what that is.
No. Remember the man that became a woman that became a wolf?
Yes, my
okay,
spirit-
if you come in and
my
tell me
spirit
you're
animal.
turning into a she-wolf, I'm gonna. So they're working on a bill that would make it illegal for pregnant women to get.
But I thought doctors were supposed to be telling you that because it's medical marijuana. Doctors are the ones telling you whether you can take marijuana, right?
Right.
Right, and right now,
So
as it is,
are they prescribing it for pregnant women?
well, they can.
They can. But
So what we're doing is we're going to make it illegal for the woman who is pregnant to use the medical marijuana.
Right.
That'll probably stop her if we just pass a law. If she's that dumb.
She'll just call her high school dealer.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even know if we're fixing anything. But,
I mean, at
it
least
does show that no one thought about the legislation, and it is a train wreck.
It's a train wreck. Right now, you can be 19 years old and get your medical marijuana card. You can't buy a beer.
But you can get your
But
card
you
for
can
some
get high.
Mary Jane. You
Right.
can pick up the
Well,
plant on your way
You might
home.
have some anxiety because they won't let you buy beer.
Or you could, that's right.
Can
That
you use
makes
for your
such good
reason?
sense.
Yes, I wanted beer bad, but they won't give it to me. Can I get that? I'm so anxious about it.
That's where we are. That's where we are.
That's pathetic.
Oh.
That's just, I mean,
So-
come on, man.
Come
That's
on.
all I got. Like, I
man.
can't even.
Remember when I told y'all that legislators don't even read the bills?
We know now you were telling the truth.
You were so right.
Because I was talking to someone who was involved in another piece of legislation the other day, and they said they were pointing out these things in one of the pieces of legislation. I think it was the marijuana bill, and that legislator after legislator was like, I didn't know that was in there. Like,
I sympathize.
Right.
There's so much that they have to do, but it's us.
but it's their fault.
I have an
but it's
idea.
their fault too. They pass them.
What if we got the bills and we read them to them, like story time? Here's what's in the bill, sir, ma'am, and just read it. Like that would be a service.
But
that
you know what's
would
funny
help
is
people.
they're in charge of what bills they pass, though.
Yes.
They don't have to pass
But
hundreds
they
of
don't
bills.
like in the Senate. I've talked to 2 senators. I have offered our services to read these bills, highlight concerns.
I'd read 'em.
From
Right.
just like a normal person. Because when you go to the other senator and you go to the attorney senators and you think you're getting a wide view of a representative sample of the population, you're really wrong.
Right.
Anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that.
You were trying to.
I was going to offer for
That
us
they don't
to
read the
read
bills.
them.
to read the
They
bill. We're
don't read
serious.
the
We would.
bills.
So here's the deal. If
I am
you
not
can't,
volunteering for that.
All right,
Yes,
well,
you would be
we
good.
have
No,
I
started
did it
reading
enough.
the
It's
bills,
horrible. That's why I'm
and I started reading when I started with 1819, like actually reading the bills. And you read it, and you're like, for the love of God, is this really in here? Yeah, indeed it is.
It is.
So the question is, guys, gals, if you can't put what's in the bill on the back of a business card, the old-fashioned business card, in like one sentence, then you should probably not vote for it. This is my litmus test.
But
They just pass way
They
too
can't-
many. We used
Yeah.
to
They
we used to go to war constantly on. We want to know what 8 bills we're going to talk about tomorrow. And when I was rules chairman, we made sure that everybody had a 24-hour notice. You knew what we were going to do. When we finished with that calendar, I was like, "We're done." Oh no, I have one. I've got one. We're done. And which is one of the reasons I was not there long. But
Ainsworth doesn't run it
it's-
like that.
But it's their fault because they're allowing it. The leadership wants to do it. The lobbyists want to do it because they don't want people to know what is in that piece of legislation.
And they don't want people, the legislators, to be able to prepare to fight against it, on.
So it comes down to you pass yours, I'll pass mine, she passes hers, and we'll pass 3, we'll go to the House.
And
no
it's
one
the
knows.
people that suffer.
Right. It is. That is the way it works. And it should not work that way, but it is the way it works. The pressure is there to do that.
Have I ever said that I hate politics? You want me to say it one more
One more
time?
time. One more time. In
I
case.
really hate politics. And yet here I am, just walking right into it. But if we don't,
Who will?
and I'm about to call myself normal, I don't know if that's right.
Call Kay
Like,
Ivey. She'll tell you if you're normal.
If,
What?
okay.
She's the one that said normal
Oh,
people. don't.
regular. Yeah, I'm
Regular people,
definitely
not normal people. So maybe you're normal, but not regular.
Regular. She probably could say a lot of
Girl.
things. But anyway, I can't believe we're at an hour and 4
I
minutes.
know. We got to stop.
What?
Okay.
Who
All
wants
right.
to? Who wants to
You?
do? I got to do the goodbye. I never
Yeah.
do it right because I don't remember all the locations.
Gab and Spotify.
Y'all
and
talked all day
iTunes
today
and
for 3 hours on my show. Why don't?
news.com,
Yeah.
Allison just
And
told you this
do
is
it.
where you can find us.
Podbean, podcast.
And give us a thumbs up or
And
5
give us a
stars. Which
5
is it?
star.
What is thumbs
It's
up?
a
Is that
5
social
star.
media
Like
stuff?
on YouTube, you can give a thumbs up
Oh, okay.
or 5 stars. Or, hey, even better, share it with your friends. Like copy and paste and send it out and tell people about us.
Because when
See,
we
this
have
is a
t-shirts.
disaster. This is bad.
All right, listen. And when we have t-shirts, we'll give them to you. We don't have them right now.
Right.
But
Go
we will.
Rams. Yeah.
Well, you get a
Go
elected
Rams.
promise and T-shirts, so that works.
You
You
know
don't
what?
ever have to deliver them. Just promise.
We may
Just
hate
like
politics,
politicians.
but you know what? We can. That is a. I just wrote a check that I cannot cash.
But that means, yeah, we have to follow through, or we're
We
no
do.
better than
This is why I'm
Montgomery.
saying it out loud. It'll make me reach out to my friend who does design T-shirts and say, "Hey, can you give us a
when all
Rams
those people
t-shirt?"
ask for
She said
T-shirts,
it.
y'all
I did.
it.
I own it.
She
I'm
said
owning
it.
it. I've said it twice
what
today.
she
That's what she said.
That's what she said. So,
This has been
I'm
Alabama
saying it.
Unfiltered. Thanks for watching. Please do give us the thumbs up, the 5 stars. You can find it at all the regular places, and let your friends know about this podcast if you've enjoyed it. Y'all take care.